In this video, we are going to factor some sick trinomials, and we're going to do some more practice of where we left off with factoring trinomials, but in this one, I'm going to show you how to do this a little more mentally. So this is like step 2 in the factoring process. I won't be listing out the factors like I did in a prior video. So if you're still having trouble factoring, don't watch this video yet. Watch the very previous video where you're going over how to factor trinomials where the coefficient is 1. Let's start to streamline this process, peeps. I can't wait. So the instructions are very simple. Factor. So this is how I go a little bit quicker now, and this is extra practice on what we've already done. So I start out with my 2 parentheses, and I know that r and r go in there. That's going to give me r squared. Then I start thinking, what numbers multiply to 3 that add to 4? And I list them out in my head. So I'm literally saying, well, the only factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So I write them in here because I know they're going to add to 4. But the only way that 1 and 3 add to 4 is if they're both positive. So that would have to be plus 1 and plus 3. And then, of course, I check my answer by foiling. R times r is r squared, check. R times 3 is 3r, plus 1r is 4r. 3 times 1 is 3. So we're in great shape. That's it. So that's the level of speed eventually that you'll get to if you do this out carefully following the steps that I outlined in my previous video. This is showing you how you can get quicker with it and provide you with some more extra practice of a very important topic. X squared minus 6x minus 55. So after a little while, especially if you practice by checking your answers by foiling, you're going to kind of arrive at the answer almost automatically. Like factoring is going to become real quick and you won't have to list out factors as much. But let's list them out. Factors of 55 that add to 6. Well, they have to be 6 apart. So like 1 and 55, though they're factors, are not 6 apart. However, I know 11 and 5 are factors, and they're pretty close to 6 apart. In fact, 11 and 5 are 6 apart. So I put them in there. Now the question is, what are the signs? Well, I know that 11 and 5 must add to give me negative 6. So 11 would need to be negative, plus 5 would give me negative 6. And if I multiply negative 11 and positive 55, they multiply to give me negative 55. It's beautiful. It's like a built-in check. Keep rolling. A squared plus 3a minus 54. Again, let's start with our parentheses. And we get a, love those cheesy sound effects, right? A and a gives you a squared. Now we need factors of 54 that are 3 apart. 1 and 54 is not going to cut it. I'm going to kind of look for the middle factors of 54, the ones that aren't huge but aren't too small. And the reason being is they're only going to be 3 apart. So 2 and 27 are pretty far apart. Let's go a little bit closer. 6 and 9. They're 3 apart and they multiply to give us 54. So that's going to be 6 and 9. And now I want them to combine to give me positive 3. Which means that we would need to add a negative 6 to a positive 9. That would give us positive 3. And when we multiply negative 6 and 9, we get negative 54. Sweet. Keep rolling. Y squared minus 11y plus 30. So we got 2 parentheses here. So y and y will multiply to give us y squared. I need factors of 30 that will somehow combine to give us 11. They don't have to necessarily be 11 apart. Here I knew they had to be, because in my head I knew there was going to be some subtraction going on. Let's see what's going on here. Well, what are the factors of 30? There's a bunch of them. 1 and 30, 2 and 15, they're too big, right? It's not going to combine to give us 11. 3 and 10 would give us 13 or 7 if we add or subtract them. 4 doesn't go into 30. 5 goes into 30 6 times. And 5 and 6 is 11. So that might be a winner. Let's put them in there. Now we need a negative 11. The only way to get that from 5 and 6 is if both of these are negative. Negative 5 plus negative 6. And lo and behold, a negative 5 times a negative 6 is plus 30. We write. That's sweet. All right, letter E. Here we go. W squared plus 17w minus 18. We're going to factor that. So again, we start out with w here and w there. And now we need factors of 18 that combine to give us 17. Well, 1 and 18 do, and 17 is a pretty big number. That might be it actually, because, well, 1 and 18 can subtract to give us 17, and if 18 is positive and 1 is negative, negative 1 plus 18 is 17. And they multiply, negative 1 and 18 do, to give you negative 18. It's awesome. Isn't it fun? Factoring's pretty satisfying. It's like solving a puzzle. And last one here. So we're going to put our two parentheses. We've got j and j for j squared. And now you need numbers that multiply to give you 40 that combine to give you 14. Well, 1 and 40 will give you 41 or 39. 2 and 20, getting closer, gives you 18 or 22. 3 doesn't go into 40. 4 goes into 40 10 times. And remember, if you need a calculator for it, just do 40 divided by 4. It'll spit out 10. 4 and 10, they add to give us 14. So let's test them out. 4 and 10. Now, we're going to, in order to get 14, need to add 4 and 10 both as positives. We'll multiply them, and that gives us 40. So we're right. Again, this has been a video to show you, 1, extra practice, and 2, how eventually you can streamline your thinking. The whole goal is to eventually get to what I just showed you and explained. It's not at all where you'll start. So if you're having trouble with this, again, watch the video just prior to this, and maybe even the one just before that, to learn how to factor, why it works, and do it out step by step. Then you'll get to this level of understanding after significant practice. See ya next time.